Hey, what's going on, everybody? So in this section, we're going to show you how to send a LinkedIn connection request. Now, when you are adding people on LinkedIn, essentially what's going to happen is when you click on the person's profile and you press the button to actually add them, this pop-up is going to pop up and it's going to say, hey, your invitation is almost on its way. You can add a note to personalize your invitation, or you can just send, right? So if you just press send, you don't have to write anything and it'll just automatically try to connect with the other person. And usually if you do write something a little bit more personal, your conversion rate to, let's say, complete stranger to an actual connection will most likely be higher. But, you definitely can't just press send. It'll just be like, hey, Patrick wants to connect with you. But, in this section, you can either press send, which, is the easy part, or you can, add a special note to that specific person to actually make it more personalized and increase the odds of somebody actually connecting with you, right? And so what's going to happen when you press add a note is it's going to say add a note to your invitation. LinkedIn members are more likely to accept invitations. I find that to be true. And you include a personal note, right? And the total character count can be 300, so you can't make it too long. So in this section, we're going to show you some examples of what you can do to, what to put into this little box over here to increase your connection request conversion. Now, some things that you can actually talk about when it comes to, what to write in that message is, if you have mutual connections, you can talk about, hey, I noticed that we're both connected to this person, or maybe we're both friends with them. Or maybe it's that you're in the same LinkedIn groups, similar interests like sales, marketing, HR, whatever it is you're selling. It could also just be that you're just in the same industry, right? And a lot of times people might like to connect with others who, are just in the same industry and want to meet like-minded people. And you could also just say that LinkedIn suggested us as a connection, because sometimes LinkedIn will kind of have this pop-up that says like, hey, you should connect to this person, people that you may know, and then you might connect with them that way. Now, when it comes to what to put into actual little box, right? Let's go ahead and put in some examples. So you can say something like, hey, first name. So let's say their first name is John. Hey, John, I noticed that you are in the, and then you put whatever industry you're in, business, and in the geographical location. And I'm impressed with your work. Thought it might make sense to connect here. So, and then you put best, and then you put your first name, right? So super, super simple. Essentially, all you're doing is you're copying and pasting this thing, changing the first name, changing your industry. So for example, if you are in the real estate industry, right? Or industry business, or real estate business, basically you would copy and paste real estate business or whatever it is in here for pretty much everybody, right? Because you're going after a specific industry. And then if you want, you can add the geographical location. If not, if you are reaching out to people all around your country or around the world, then you could probably just take this out. And then you just basically say, I'm impressed with your work. You don't really have to be specific on what the work is. And you just say, hey, I thought it might make sense to connect here. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So, there is a little bit more personalization when it comes to, adding industry, adding geographic location, using their first name and things like that. And that's just one example of a connection request you can send. Another example could be, hey, John, I noticed we're in the similar industries and even have a few mutual connections. I'm impressed with what you're doing and thought it might make sense to connect here. Best, Patrick. So this one's pretty similar. All I'm really doing is changing the first name, last name, and then my first name over here. I'm not even mentioning the industry, right? Because sometimes you might be selling let's say a software to many different industries that can use it. So you don't even have to put it. And you basically just say, hey, I'm impressed with what you're doing. Thought it might make sense to connect here. So this is obviously, it's kind of general in a sense, but it's going to, convert better than just pressing send, right? Because, you're using their name. There's that familiarity of, you're on a first name basis. And, people will just kind of look at it and be like, oh, that seems like a nice person. Let's just connect with this person, right? So people don't really think about it too much when it comes to connecting with strangers. Obviously, the more personalized you can get when it comes to having industries, or maybe you guys went to the same conference or something like that, that might obviously work better. But then if you're just reaching out to, hundreds or thousands of different people, sometimes you don't have time to personalize every single message. Another example might be, hey, John, I noticed we're in similar industries and I'm impressed with what you're doing. Open to connecting here. Best, Patrick, right? Or you can put thanks. Usually I use best or thanks, pretty much the same thing, and then first name. So again, it's pretty much the same thing, just changing out first name, and I'm not really talking about anything specific in the connection request. So you don't have to, make it super personalized, because when people actually see your connection request, it's not like they're going to read the whole thing, right? And I'll go ahead and give you an example of what it looks like when people connect with me. So I am in my LinkedIn profile right now. And essentially right now I have 829 connections. So, there's a lot of people who are trying to connect with me, right? It might be people that find me on LinkedIn with my content, on, YouTube and things like that. So, a lot of people connect with me every day. Now, what's going to happen is you kind of notice that when people want to connect, a lot of times it doesn't show anything, right? So, I'm just going to be like, accept, and then there's nothing to even read, right? They just want to connect with Patrick and that's it. Now, for other people, they might, you send me a message. So for example, this guy is a virtual assistant provider, Filipino VA. So I could press see more and it'll show that connection request. So hope you don't mind me reaching out, that it might be great to connect. And so basically, what he's essentially doing is a similar strategy I'm teaching. So I'm going to connect with this guy and I'm going to see this and I'm going to understand that, okay, so I'm going to click on his profile and be like, okay, what does he do? Virtual assistant provider. So he's probably reaching out to me, head of training, to see if I want a virtual assistant from the Philippines. That's pretty much what he's selling, right? So, I don't need that right now, so I'm not going to accept it. But if I were looking for, let's say, a virtual assistant, I would accept it and I would understand like, okay, he wants to sell me something, sounds interesting, and he's probably going to follow up with a message asking if I need a virtual assistant, right? And that's pretty much how it works. So you don't have to sell anything in the beginning because it's too much information for the first go. The thing you just want them to do is accept, right? So just say enough to get them to accept, and that's pretty much it. So let's go through a couple more examples. So, okay, so let's say this person, they watch my YouTube video, so he's not trying to sell me anything. Okay, so this person is probably selling me something, right? Hi, didn't even put my first name, right? So not very personalized. We are online course provider in UK, blah, blah, blah. Please send us your email address if you would like to. Okay, so obviously this is not the best type of connection request because why would I go through the work of sending him my email address when I have no idea who he is, right? So maybe this is a big company, maybe it's not. But, the thing is, this person is not even using a picture for his profile picture. So automatically I do not trust it. So I'm going to ignore, right? And so basically as you do your connection requests, you just have to understand, like, if you think about it from the other person's perspective, are you sending something that you yourself would want to accept, right? So like for this guy, if I ever needed a virtual assistant, then he's the go-to guy to go. So I'm going to accept, right? But it doesn't mean I'm going to buy anything. It just means that he wants to connect with me. And as you can see, what happens is when I connect with a person, that message that they sent on the first go is going to send to them right away. So I'm going to see it, right? So that's why you don't want to make it too long. Basically, all you want to do is get the person to connect, say, 1 or 2 sentences, use their first name, use your first name, and just say you want to connect that and, see if you can help each other out. And that's pretty much all you need to do. And again, if you just kind of send it like this, sure, people will accept. But of course, if you have some kind of personalization to it, even if you're copying and pasting the same exact thing and just replacing their first name, that's better than just, sending these connection requests like this. And so with that said, go ahead and use my templates as an example. You definitely can do your own style of connection requests if you want, depending on what you are selling. Some things might work better than others. You can make it more personal, like saying something like, hey, I noticed that you're in the digital marketing space, right? Getting very specific for the people you want to sell to. And, the more personalized, the better. But the trick is the balance between making it seem personalized without having to manually do a personalized message for each person, right? And so that's pretty much what you're doing when you're just putting in, the industry here. And so with that said, that's pretty much how you are going to send your connection request. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video.